Hello?
Where are you?
I'm in the closet.
Oh, can I come and have a rummage through your drawers?
Of course. Come on up.
I'm coming. Welcome to Material Memoirs, where the clothes spill the secrets. Today I'm expecting some celebrity realness, the secret to buying your first Chanel bag at 15, and of course, fabulous fashion. My first guest ever on the series is stylist Sammy Palmer. Sammy, I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm so honoured to be the first guest.
I mean, it makes so much sense.
Well, thank you. Thank you for coming to my space.
It's the most amazing space I've been in.
Oh my God,
I literally walked in and my jaw dropped.
I'm extremely grateful to
It's
have
amazing.
this space.
So let's get straight into it. Looking at your Instagram, it's obvious that fashion is about expression for you and it's a deep love. When, where, how did you first fall in love with fashion, and when did you know that it was going to be what you wanted to do for a career?
I think the first moment was I got into makeup first. So I started doing makeup because I was in drama shows at school. So I went to an all-boys school, so that meant that somebody had to fill the drag roles. And so I always used to do the drag roles. So that obviously called for getting a little bit comfortable with makeup. So I started doing makeup, and then I just started looking into fashion, being interested in fashion. The first time that I really understood was when I was old enough to kind of take an interest in my mum's wardrobe. I remember like going through, and she has a lot of my old grandma's clothes. And my grandma passed before I was born. So I didn't obviously know who she was. I'd seen photos, but I'd never kind of known her. My mum showed me all of these clothes that were my grandma's, and it honestly felt as if I knew the kind of person that she was through the clothes.
Amazing way to feel connected to somebody that you've never met. I love that.
For sure. So it just felt as if I kind of could feel her energy and her spirit and her personality through these pieces that she owned and she cherished long enough for them to still be around today. There's one piece in particular that was this kind of suede and shearling coat, and I just fell in love with it. I thought it was so well made. My grandma didn't spend a lot of money on clothes. That's something my mum was really clear on, but it just felt so luxurious. I think I realized that it wasn't the quality of the clothes or who the designer was. It was the memories that were attached to it that made it feel so luxurious. It told a story through the piece of clothing and through the stories that were held within it. So that was kind of the first moment that I realized that fashion could be utilized as this tool of storytelling. This coat is not only obviously so stunning, but it holds a lot of sentiment to me as a piece. Obviously I got into vintage and into fashion in general because of the connection to my grandma and her vintage clothes. When my granddad passed away a few years ago, I was looking for a gorgeous black coat to wear for his funeral. I was looking at New Season, I was looking on the high street, I was looking everywhere. I was with my mum and we stumbled into Elite. And as I do many times a year.
This is the Elite fan club.
It always is, because as I say to everybody who I meet, it's the best vintage store on the planet. I stumbled into Elite, and as I do, I was looking through the racks and I came across this coat. There was something so magnetic about it to me, like it was honestly, like it was just drawn to me. I put it on, every single person in the shop was like, oh, you have to buy that. And so I got it, I wore it a few times, and then I wore it to my granddad's funeral. It felt so special to be wearing something vintage to his funeral when it was my grandma who inspired me through her spirit to want to even get into vintage fashion and fashion in general. It felt so full circle and so sentimental. He was known for his wool coats. My number one silhouette I think of when I picture him is a gorgeous suit topped with a wool coat and a flat cap. He was just such an ode to that tailored style.
Yes.
To wear this to his funeral felt so much an honor of him and his style, but then it felt so me with the leather collar. When it's on, it has this really interesting shape where these aren't quite symmetrical and it almost flows down. And it's really cinching at the waist. So yeah, it was incredibly sentimental to wear it. It felt so full circle from where I came from and how I started loving vintage and fashion in the first place, to end up here and to get to honour him with something that felt like him and me.
You. And also had the connection to your grandma. I think it's amazing.
Exactly. So this is probably one of my most cherished pieces. And you know what's even crazier? Me and my family always see evidence of my granddad in rainbows, but also in white feathers.
Yes.
And literally on the way home from the funeral, we'd gone to the wake and then we're on the way home from the funeral. I was getting in the car and literally there was a white feather on the sleeve.
Oh,
and
stop. I'm actually going to cry.
There'd been the most stunning sunset that night too. I wore this actually again when we buried his ashes a couple months later. And not only was I wearing this, there was a rainbow.
Oh.
So I just feel like I'm a bit of a spiritual person in that regard
Me too.
anyway. I'm not like super obsessed with it. But in the way that I look for these,
little signs,
moments to grab onto to make you feel better.
100%.
And I think clothing can become a tool for that. I think it's so important to not just look at that person's clothes, but your clothes, how their spirit is in them and how they've influenced your style today.
Yeah. It's amazing. And actually, the fact that you've got a gorgeous Vivienne Westwood coat is just a bonus.
Oh, it's a bonus. Not only is it so stunning, but it holds such sentimental value to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I love so much about vintage. I can't say enough about how it's so important and powerful when clothing can become such a device for not only keeping you happy and positive, but dressing you through your most important memories and through your most important moments, and keeping you connected not only to yourself but to loved ones and to culture and the world around you.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That might be my favourite one of the day.
I really then started to get into looking into old fashion and archive fashion. So I would research, I would read books, I'd go to exhibits, I'd, do this, that, and the other. I spent so many hours as a 14, 15-year-old on Vogue Runway, becoming familiar with designers.
Yeah.
Obviously, at that point, when you're kind of younger, you know instinctively a couple of designers just that are so present in the zeitgeist and in popular culture, like Chanel and Dior. Getting to know the other brands, like Jean Paul Gaultier, every other brand that exists that's had such a legacy in the 2000s, who the creative director was at that specific period and what their vibe was. So I really started to get into that kind of vibe. And then I heard of this app called Vestiaire Collective, which is, to this day, one of my favourite places to shop.
Absolutely.
Online ever. It's phenomenal. And I remember scrolling, and like I said, the first couple of brands that you're aware of are like your really well-known brands. I remember looking at Chanel. At that point, I was, saving up pocket money for these pieces. So I literally...
Pocket money for a Chanel bag.
Well, but this is the thing. So that sort by price low to high was really a godsend. I came across this clutch. It was a pastel pink patterned cloth clutch with a little double C in the middle. It was gorgeous. Perfect condition. It came with the box, it came with the authenticity card. I was like, oh, I'm made. I bought it, I listed it on Depop, had zero interest. Literally zero. Here we are, like nearly 10 years later, and I still have the bag. I actually lent it to my mum to wear on my sister's wedding day earlier this year, which felt so full circle. It went so well with her dress that she was wearing. I styled her for the wedding day. I realised, you know what, if I keep this, somewhere down the line, I'm experimenting with makeup, I'm starting to get an interest in fashion, I will find a purpose for this. So that was honestly kind of the stepping stone into this. From there, I just carried on researching. Anytime I could see a book that had vintage fashion in, catwalk books that have the history in, going to exhibits, like doing this, that, and the other to really get a vibe on what fashion is and who the designers are and what everybody is talking about and what the history of everything is. It's fascinating. Kind of put the dots together of this isn't just a piece of clothing, it has a history and a legacy behind it.
It's the heritage of everything. And fashion is not just aesthetic, like we say, it shapes so many things in society across generations, but also heavily tied to politics and stuff like that. You look at Vivienne Westwood.
I have a few Vivienne Westwood pieces here today. She actually grew up around
She's
the
a
corner
northern
from here.
Yeah,
the thing is, you learn that by researching and finding things out, and whether it's anecdotally through things that you hear from friends and family, or whether it's stuff that you actively seek out yourself, that's really the most powerful tool for getting into this, is understanding where the pieces come from, why they were made in the first place, what was going on at the time. Like you were saying with Vivienne Westwood, what was going on at the time when she designed those clothes, or how does this relate back to the overall culture of the 2000s or the 90s or the 80s? It's fascinating. I think you can't have an interest in fashion today if you don't have an interest in fashion of the past.
Oh my gosh.
Fashion is linked to identity, but also to the zeitgeist, to culture.
Freedom.
Exactly. And I think it's just so important to have a understanding if you are interested in, obviously if you don't give a shit about fashion, you don't need to know. But if you care about fashion, you care about clothes now, it makes your appreciation of fashion so much deeper and richer to 100%. Understand what came before.
My grandma always used to say, if you want to wear a miniskirt because people died so that you could wear a miniskirt.
Yeah, exactly.
She was an art teacher that taught in a college in Manchester that was run by nuns at the time, and she would turn up in a miniskirt and get berated by the nuns, and it was that for me, the kind of, I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I'm going to wear what I want, it's an expression. So obviously you never met your grandma, but your mum's told you about her and the fashion side and stuff, even though she wasn't that into fashion like you say. What do you think she'd say or think about what you're doing now with your career?
She was a big inspiration for me growing up, even though I didn't know her personally. She was, the only woman on a board of directors, at a health board. And she was, honestly, from what I know, such a strong woman and so influential within her spheres, but also just like influential and powerful in terms of how she just lived her life.
Yeah.
My mum's always said to me that she thinks I'm my grandma reincarnated.
Oh, that just gives me goosebumps.
I always like to think, like, what would my grandma think of what I'm doing? And my mum and my sister always tell me, like, she would be obsessed. She was obsessed with fashion in a way where it was utilitarian, but she loved big coats or looking really chic. She used to wear big hats and massive sunglasses, like very Audrey Hepburn. There's a photo of my mum and my grandma on ski slopes drinking a shot of whiskey in like these knit jumpers with like big sunglasses on, and I'm just like, it's just so chic. Like that classic sense of just self. And just,
like intangible chic.
Yeah, but also like just feeling so comfortable in what you're wearing and how you're owning yourself.
Yeah.
And so that's been really influential to me growing up, is that idea more than anything. Not like the style, but the idea of just owning what you're doing and just feeling comfortable in whatever you're doing, and using dress to kind of feel powerful and using fashion to feel powerful, or just to feel confident. As I started to get older and kind of shop around a bit more, I bought the Chanel bag, I was doing a little bit more research. I came across Elite in Manchester. At the time, this was the store King Street, yeah. A friend of mine had told me about it because his mum used to sell a lot of her coats and fur coats to the store.
Which, funnily enough, is how a lot of people come to know Elite. I knew Elite because my mum used to take me shopping there, and my mum knew Elite because her stepmom took her. And for me, that is everything I love about fashion, is that generational.
It's fab. So I remember I went in with him for the first time with one of my best friends. Going into the store and being able to like actually see racks upon racks of these pieces and have the tangible aspect of being able to touch and feel and try them on and see how things work was like next level life-changing for me. Like, obviously that sounds like cringe to say about clothing, but like it honestly was. Like, it felt like at the time my style was still very conventionally I guess that the word is heteronormative. Like, it was very conventionally kind of gender driven. And going in there where there was no labels of which was kind of menswear and women's wear at that point, it was just all kind of like, each rack was done by colour, and it felt really kind of just like curated, but everything was just like in one place. There was no kind of like, this is for older women, this is for young women, this is for men. It was just all in one place. So
find what you like.
Forced me to kind of sift through and have the best time sifting through these racks. At this point, just browsing, but just like getting to grips with like, oh my god, this is such an interesting experience to go into a store and not feel like I'm being pushed to look in one section.
100%. And it's the thrill of the hunt as well, somewhere like that, isn't it? Is
absolutely,
because there's no restrictions.
I used to go around that store 4 or 5 times in the same day and still find pieces I hadn't seen. A store like that where I didn't feel pressured to look in one specific section. I didn't feel pressured to select things and try things on that were what society was telling me I should wear or was made for me. It kind of pushed me to go to this point where I was like, I'm just going to try on things that I think look nice. Obviously, I had this idea of the history now, so I was seeing designers and going, oh, that's a designer that I've been researching and I know and I love, but also it's a great place to find new things and new designers that I didn't know of and that I hadn't seen before. And obviously you look on runway pictures, but it's so rare that you find old runway pieces anyway. So seeing kind of the more, what was in boutiques or the more ready to wear that was available from those designers isn't something you can really research that well online, or it wasn't at that point anyway. So being able to see those in person and try those on was phenomenal. I think this goes for all things, but in the store I say don't look at what the gender of the clothing is or the size, because this is the thing, is everything in there is all from different periods, different designers, sizing changes, things change. And I think it goes for everything, whether it's texture, colour, silhouette, size. Just look at if you like it. Don't think about what anyone else is wearing. Don't think about what's in trend, what's out of trend. Just look at it and go, do I see myself in that piece of clothing?
The minute you stop thinking, is it in trend right now? Is it something I can style with so-and-so that I've bought? The minute you start picking stuff up because you like it, you are freed from the shackles of this is what I should be wearing.
That is fully the thing. I think you don't realise when you're growing up, but you are quite restrained sartorially by what society says names of jeans, like boyfriend jeans. Obviously they're designed to look like your boyfriend's jeans, but they're just a pair of jeans. They're a bit baggier. I think these things that we don't realise, and we're kind of preconditioned to almost just have this understanding that when you go into a store you shop in the section that you should shop in.
It's wild to me.
It is so wild. And it's
but
so,
only in recent years, because like you say, when you're younger it's just second nature.
When you start shopping for yourself, I think you start noticing it a lot more, that you are kind of forced down these paths of this is what's acceptable, this is what you should be wearing. Going into vintage stores for the first time, specifically Elite in Manchester, was that first kind of like, oh, like there can be a different way to shop.
And how did that make you feel?
so good. I remember it was trying on things in Elite and looking through things made me have such a different understanding of my body and also how to style things on my body. And it was like the first time I was like, I don't need to be wearing skinny jeans and a hoodie. You can find stuff that's such interesting silhouettes and visuals that you don't see nowadays, again, because it's maybe out of trend. If you're worried about trends, things always come back anyway. But I obviously don't look at trends, just think about what you want to wear. But it made me so excited to just play with fashion. The options are endless here because you've got so many different designers, eras, silhouettes, all in one place on one rack. So you have to go through and think, what looks good? What is this? What is that? And play around and experiment. That freedom to experiment was something that I'd loved about makeup at that point. Yeah. And so having that translate over into
like
fashion
a recreation
was like
of that feeling.
Come to Jesus moment. I was
Yeah.
like, oh my god, this is so much fun. I want to like spend every waking minute in this store. Another thing I picked up from Elite, this incredible two-piece set from Balenciaga. This is pre-fall 2010 by Nicolas Ghesquier. I'm obsessed with everything he did at Balenciaga. I think his coalescence of modernism and futurism and the materiality, I mean, this like ribbed texture that runs throughout is phenomenal. So structured and so detailed.
This is actually a massive nod towards, I studied Balenciaga as fashion history when I was in college, and the like puffy skirts and the flower type.
The silhouettes are so referential of what Cristobal was doing when the brand first started.
So it's a gorgeous nod to that.
It's such a nice piece of fashion history. It's kind of that midpoint where people don't really think of it as vintage because it's only 2010. But yet it's still a pre-owned, pre-loved and archive runway piece. Previously I was doing makeup and I was doing it just in my room, taking pictures of it for Instagram to, you know, my like 300, 400 followers at the time. I would wipe it off at the end of the day, go to bed, go into school, no makeup on, no nothing. But honestly, like at that point, I was like, it felt like there was no, it was like that was just what I was gonna do. Yeah. Like it was like, there wasn't even a question at that point. And I think that goes back to the conditioning that you have of what society tells you. I was still experimenting with makeup, but I was like, this is a nighttime thing for artistic purposes. I was creating these characters with makeup. I was doing really extravagant looks. Rather than it being like a beauty makeup thing, it was like I was transforming myself into other people. It's like almost like I was painting. So cringe, but it was like my face was the canvas.
There's no success without cringe. You've got to go through cringe town first.
This is true. You've got to be able to laugh at yourself. Because 100%. I think if I can't look back at what I was wearing in 2018 and be like, oh my god, what the fuck? Then it's like, what are you can't grow. So you have to just be able to be like, that was a chopped look, onto the next. That freedom that I felt in that kind of transitory state with makeup when I had makeup on, and it was that very short-lived, ephemeral state of being in makeup, taking pictures and wiping it off, feeling free to do that. And I realized I could do that with clothing, but it would become part of my uniform or my identity outside the makeup room. I felt free. I felt this kind of weight of being like, oh, like I can finally stop shoehorning myself into these Adidas tops or these top man sweatshirts that just don't look cute. I can finally start wearing things that, number one, I like, and number two, have a history to them. It's like that trifecta. It's a piece that I like, it has a history to it, and I can use it to tell stories about my own identity too. It's like aha moment of like, oh, I can, you know, actually express who I feel on the inside a little bit on the outside too. After that, I started finding other stores that I loved. I started going on Depop, Vestiaire again, and all of these things. I started buying things. At this point, I was 16, 17, and I just started working at Selfridges, so I had some of my own money at that point. So I started working at Anastasia Beverly Hills.
Massive at the time.
Oh my god, at the time
like
it was
dip
huge.
brow.
And they'd actually scouted me to work there. As a 17-year-old, I was like, oh my god, this is major. Like,
I remember how obsessed I was because that was my clubbing era. And
oh my god,
it was like the dip brow and the eyeshadow. What was that eyeshadow palette that had that
Modern Renaissance. Modern Renaissance was life changing. But again, I loved to play and experiment with makeup. I love to test color combinations, or texture's a massive thing for me with makeup. I love experimenting with texture on the skin. And so that is completely translated over into fashion, where I love playing with textures, I love playing with color. And so having that come to Jesus moment, like I said, where I could translate everything that I loved about makeup over into clothing was so inspiring to me.
It must have been emotionally a bit of a turning point for you as well, because as somebody who, you know, is not the standard masculine archetype, to then feel a little bit, like you say, like they can come into their own, maybe you felt like you were only a version of yourself.
Yes, it definitely was an emotional realization, not in the sense that I was like floods of tears, like,
no,
you know.
I can't imagine you are a floods of tears kind of person, to be honest.
I am at the right moment. I just saw Wicked for Good.
No, we've been talking about this.
I sobbed.
I stop. I've never seen the musical, so I didn't know anything that happened.
Yeah.
And I was literally sat there like,
I was in tears. I've seen it
Same.
twice now, and I cried both times. I'm seeing it a third. This is so mad. I'm seeing it a
No,
third time. Talk about using clothing as a storytelling device. Like, that's wild. But, like, that understanding of how to use clothing as a device to create characters, oh my god.
Yeah.
To answer the question, it was emotional in the sense that it was this realization of I kind of felt free to do what I want to do. I think clothing can still be used to tell stories. Sometimes those stories are fictional. You can use clothing to become this confident version of yourself, which I guess is using it as a uniform in creating a character of fiction, but it's just a version of yourself that you're helping to bring out.
even if you were the least confident person in the world, you can definitely, like you say, put a story out there that is that you are super confident. And if that's the crutch for you that you need, then great.
Even as someone who now obviously works in doing styling, sometimes you're creating a look that feels authentic to the wearer, or sometimes you're creating a story with clothing that feels like a dramatized version or a completely different character altogether. Having that understanding from a young age of how clothing can be used as a tool to do that, just through my own personal style and how I can use it to create different versions of myself or bring aspects of myself out that I wanted to, has really helped going into what I do now. But I think at that point, clothing was like almost like an armor. Something Rihanna says, and it's like a flippant comment, but I think it is true. You know, you can hate me, but you can't hate my outfit. No matter what people are saying, whether it's people at school or this, that, and the other. When people found out I had a makeup page, it was a little bit of a hot topic at an all-boys school. Being able to just be like, you know what? Sod it, I'm gonna wear this really fab Balenciaga jumper and no one can tell me shit. It becomes that kind of suit of armor, being like, I'm gonna become the version of myself that just doesn't take this and just feels a bit stronger. If you go for an interview, or you do this, that, and the other, or you're going to an important job, having that piece of clothing that makes you feel like the best version of yourself, it really is like a storytelling device in that way, because it helps you tell your story. So yeah. My first pieces that I started buying, because I was still kind of dealing with that aspect of, oh my god, I've had this realization that I can wear whatever I want, but I still feel a little bit of societal restraint. The first things I started buying were just really chic vintage tops. I bought a couple of old Galliano tops, a couple of old Galliano for Dior tops. They were some of my first things. And this was also the time when I bought my first pieces of Jean-Paul Gaultier.
I want to talk about your favourite pieces and why they're your favourite pieces and the stories behind them. So where do you want to start?
I want to start with my all-time favourite. My absolute holy grail. This find was honestly the highlight of my entire year this year. It was genuinely a piece that I'm so honoured to have in my collection, and also one that I will cherish forever. And that is this Jean-Paul Gaultier Spring 2004 runway piece. This is look number 1 from the runway. It's this insane brocade corset blazer with these panelled cutouts. I am obsessed with everything, the embroidery throughout. It is phenomenal. It has the matching skirt to it, which is this gorgeous kind of shin length skirt.
Stunning, very classic.
And then what I've never seen it come with before is the vest top that goes under. What I think you'll love about this is these fastens here are actually spookily similar to your Gaultier vest. It really shows one of my favourite things, which is house codes. When this was designed, Jean-Paul himself was still creative director and designing at the brand. Obviously, when the tank top was made, they didn't have a creative director and they were designing in-house, so it shows that they were referencing all of those iconic house codes. I wore this to my sister's wedding in May of this year. I was Brother of Honour, was my official title. I came across it online, and so the hunt began. I looked and I looked and I looked. I did all the regular channels, Vestiaire, The Real, Depop, Vinted, First Dibs. Nowhere, anywhere. After trawling and using some of my tricks and techniques and methods, I found it after maybe 6 months of trying. I found a screenshot of one on Google Images and the link followed me through to an Instagram page of a vintage boutique in Eastern Europe, and they had one available. I started DMing with them. We got to a price that I agreed on, and then it came time to figure out how to ship the bloody thing. I was going to Paris for Fashion Week, so I messaged them and I was like, by chance, are any of your team coming to Fashion Week? They said, none of our team, but a friend is. And I said, put it in their suitcase. And so they put it in their suitcase, flew it out to Paris, pulled up at this apartment. This girl answers the door and she's like, are you here for the Gaultier? And I'm like, yeah, I am. It's lying on the sofa in this Airbnb. I'm like, can I try it on? And she's like, oh yeah, of course. There's no mirror in this Airbnb. So the way that I found that it fit was she propped her phone on front-facing camera on the mantelpiece.
Stop it now.
And that was how I made the decision to pay and take this with me.
Off an iPhone fit check.
Off an iPhone front camera fit check. Do you know what's even crazier? A year before I bought this, Jean Paul Gaultier and the British brand Knowles collabed.
Yes, love Knowles.
I bought the black suit that they did. What you'll notice is they used the same silhouette.
Wow. What's the difference in years? Like what, 20 years?
Oh my God, 20 years. So this
Wow.
is 2004, this is 2023/2024.
Can we just hold these up together? That is crazy.
So it's the same detailing here with the paneling, and yet 20 years apart, and it
Wow.
still holds up.
And
that's
just
one of
so
my
beautifully
favourite
made.
things about vintage is that it can be so timeless.
Yes.
And so able to be worn again and again and again.
Yes.
So when I remembered, oh my God, I already have this in black, it was like, oh my God, that's literally the power of archive. Everything that I love about vintage summed up it. You really do have the opportunity to extend a garment's lifespan beyond its original owner and carry on the story of that garment. But yeah, I wore this to my sister's wedding. I had the absolute best time. I felt so incredibly confident.
Yes.
I felt
Power
so
suit.
amazing. It genuinely is. To wear it is one thing, but just to own it and to have it
Yeah.
to look at, like we'll just go into our wardrobe and just stare at it and be like, oh my
I
God, it's still there.
would. Oh my
Like,
God,
it's still
I
there.
would.
You know? This is my absolute favourite all-time piece. It's these 3 pieces. I will cherish them forever and hopefully pass them down on to future generations. I paired this with this gorgeous pair of vintage Jimmy Choos. So when I talk about storytelling with fashion, but not just my own identity and expressing myself, but also I thought was such a find. I found these on eBay.
Wow, okay.
They were in America, had them shipped over. 3 sizes too small for
Oh,
me.
I don't believe in shoe sizes.
I paired it with a gorgeous salmon flared trouser.
Stunning.
And these shoes. And it feels like me, but it's still honouring the original design codes. I bought a few tops, a couple of vintage Dior tops, a couple of Galliano tops, and then when I was 18, I discovered Jean Paul Gaultier. I knew of him obviously before already. He was a massive inspiration. When I was doing my research into vintage fashion and all of that, he was a designer that I constantly referred back to, and I came across 2 pieces on Vestiaire Collective. I still wear them to this day, and they're so chic, so fab, so versatile, and I think that's another thing I look for in vintage clothing now. I look for pieces that can be versatile.
Yeah, for sure.
Either a really statement piece that you can wear that elevates an outfit, if you're wearing a pair of regular trousers
Yeah,
or jeans,
yeah,
a
for
top
sure.
that can really lift up an outfit, or something that's really versatile that you can wear with multiple things, layer in different ways.
So we touched slightly on your high school experience and that you
Yes.
went to an all-boys school, which is wild to me. I can't even imagine. What was that like for you? I mean, you said that you were literally doing drag makeup.
Yeah.
So you obviously were quite confident or portraying a sense of confidence, because I can't imagine that was an easy ride.
It wasn't easy. It wasn't the hardest thing in the world. People have this like preconception that if you are outside the mold, you have a really tough time. And I think it was tough, but it was not anything that I couldn't overcome. I was very lucky that I had a very supportive friend group where we were all kind of in it together. We're all very different, but we're all kind of united in the sense that we don't really fit the mold of what you'd expect 15, 16-year-olds to be at that point in time. So when I started then doing makeup on Instagram a little bit, I found a really amazing community of friends and makeup artists on Instagram that I actually am still in touch with to this day. Having a support system of friends on Instagram, friends in real life, family that are really supportive was so helpful. To this day, I still get, you get looks on the street or whatever, and it is what it is, but I'm like, when I enter the right rooms, that's when you're appreciated.
Yeah.
You can't sacrifice your identity and yourself for people that don't know
Such
you.
a good point. And wouldn't even try to understand you either.
Yeah, I'm not going to change who I am for people who don't know me. Andy Warhol was a huge inspiration for me growing up. I did art A-level and art GCSE, and I even was going to do fine art at uni, and then switched and went to fashion instead. But
thank God you did.
honestly, yeah, thank God. I mean, I was always going to, the reason I wanted to do fine art is because I wanted to do makeup as a medium.
Yes.
Andy Warhol was a huge inspiration to me. And just that whole finding out more about his community when he was in New York, Studio 54, and all of these kind of subcultural aspects of these people in the ballroom scene, and everything that exists under the surface of these subcultural identities and these people that live their lives authentically and truthfully without caring about what other people think. I think finding out and doing research on them was also instrumental in me figuring out how I was going to move through life. I wouldn't say I'm the most subcultural person ever. I just kind of dress how I want to dress and do what I want to do. That was kind of how I moved through high school. I think people get older, they become a little bit more accepting. And at that time as well, obviously Instagram was popping off, TikTok was starting to bubble under. It was like 2018, 2019. And so people were being exposed.
It's opening your world a little bit.
Exactly. I always say people are ignorant until they either travel or just see the world, even if that's digitally.
Yeah.
Because you have to understand, once you leave your bubble, you realise that people are just living their lives how
Well,
they want to live
especially
their
in
lives.
small
Like,
suburbs like the places that we're from.
Yes.
Like you say, we are close to the city.
Yes.
So if you wanted to educate yourself and have access to stuff like that, you can. But at the same
Manchester's
time,
one of the most culturally diverse cities
amazing
in the world.
and there's so many amazing creative things born out of Manchester.
Absolutely.
But equally, if you don't want to move 5 minutes out of your small town, you are going to continue to have that small town mindset.
So I think when I got into sixth form and social media was starting to become a little bit more, well, obviously it was at that point anyway, but people were starting to kind of see more people that looked like me or dressed like me.
I think I mean, just from sitting with you and the like 1 or 2 times that I've met you before this, you definitely have this thing of like, I think you're quite internally strong, so that probably helped you as well, because a lot of people don't naturally have that.
Yeah, but I think, you know what it is? I think I have those moments still to this day where I'm like, oh my god, like what is going on? Like what am I doing? Like, and then it is, like I say, the power of clothing as a uniform and as a tool of expression, because you put on that piece that makes you feel so strong, and it does almost revitalize that confidence within. One of my favorite ensembles or pieces that I own are these 2 Roberto Cavalli pieces. I bought these for the Cowboy Carter tour for Beyonce.
Iconic.
Earlier this year. Obviously the theme was cowboy, and this iconic Cavalli horse print is phenomenal. This, I believe, I'm still kind of working through the history on this specific top. This print was reissued later on, but these are the runway fall winter 1999 runway pants. I got the top at Elite, and then I found the trousers to match on Vestiaire Collective.
I love that you've done, I mean, talk about doing your research. You're like, I found that, and now I'm going to hunt for something else.
Like with the Gautier, I love to source, so I was on a mission to find the matching trousers, trawled, found them just in time. And what I absolutely love is the clear sequins that run throughout the legs. So when they're on and you're walking, it creates this wet look.
Yeah, it looks kind of like scales.
It looks like scales, or it looks like a horse's mane kind of glistening in the sun.
Beautiful.
So I'm obsessed with this ensemble. What I love about them, and this goes for all my vintage pieces, is they're statement pieces, but you can make them so versatile.
Yeah.
And wear them with so many different types of things. You can dress them up, you can dress them down.
Yeah.
You can go for the full matching ensemble, or you could do one and the other. I wore this top with a pair of off-white wide leg jeans from Ganni to a J.W. Anderson event in Paris over the summer, and it's just phenomenal. I have a couple of vintage Roberto Cavalli Western themed belts as well that pair so nicely with these. You can just really dress it up or dress it down. I think that's the beauty of vintage, is you're not going to see somebody else on the street wearing these.
No.
So pairing it with anything is going to feel so elevated anyway.
100%.
So yeah, some of my favourite pieces ever.
I mean, you said also in high school that obviously your style was not necessarily what your style is now, and probably a lot more muted. But was there any outrageous, and I say outrageous in inverted commas, but was there any outfits that you wore at school that were maybe a bit more against the grain?
Let me just tell you what I was wearing before I started getting interested in fashion. My uniform every day was, are you ready?
I'm ready.
A pair of nylon jogging bottoms from Team GB London Olympics 2012.
Okay.
A Abercrombie & Fitch t-shirt, an Abercrombie & Fitch flannel shirt, an Abercrombie & Fitch hoodie, and then an Abercrombie & Fitch coat. And
he runs cold.
Oh, it was layering season all year round.
In summer, can I take my blazer off?
Yeah,
no.
That was I kid you not, I used to wear that kind of outfit every day.
I get the Abercrombie thing, it was very trendy.
But it was the layering of 17 things and
then a skinny...
nylon, no, baggy.
Oh.
Nylon
Team
joggers.
GB.
Team GB, navy blue.
Very patriotic.
They were the Stella McCartney ones.
Oh!
So
why did you not mention that from the start?
So
that
that kind of,
sense.
it redeems it a little bit. I still have the track jacket, the Stella McCartney London GB track jacket.
Do you not ever get rid of that?
And I'm like, that's honestly going to become a collector's piece in like 100 years.
Yeah, 100%.
You know
Along
what?
with your Chanel.
Yeah, so it comes back around, you know. And even then, when I was dressing so terribly, at least it was a cool designer.
Also, goes back to expression. You had to start there to get here. At least you were trying.
Yeah, so I remember, I think the first time that I wore something crazy, obviously I used to do these drama shows. This is a wild one. So this isn't anything related to vintage clothing or anything, but it kind of shows where I was at and what I was comfortable doing and how I was kind of overcoming internal obstacles to kind of be who I wanted to be. We were doing, this was for GCSEs, it was in year 10. We were doing a piece, and it was called Our Ladies of Perpetual Succor, I think it was called. And it was about nuns in a school in Scotland go crazy and they go out. It's very Derry Girls teas, but Scottish. Like, it was very that vibe. Anyway, we had to perform it in front of the year for like a graded thing. So I was like, I'm gonna do this anyway. What I wore was probably the thing that was really like, whoa. So we agreed early on, me and my group, we were like, we're gonna wear like skirts, we're gonna do what we want to do. They all wore like their school shirt unbuttoned a bit and tied, like very
Britney Spears.
Yeah. I decided to buy baby tee, a velvet pink mini skirt, thigh-high black boots, and fishnets, and had my hair in space buns.
Love that.
I remember I was walking around school and one of the dinner ladies was like, oh my god, Sammy, you have amazing legs. And I was like, you know what, who cares? Like, I look good.
Yes.
Obviously now I wouldn't wear that outfit. That was very much a character thing. It was like, I wouldn't wear a mini skirt and thigh-high boots now. Like, that's not my vibe now.
Yes.
I like mixing a little bit more masculine and feminine
Yes.
archetypes together. But having that moment where I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm just gonna do this and go all out.
I actually have a similar story to your high school drama one, but mine's primary school and comes back to my
primary.
Yeah, no, wait, you're gonna die. And it comes back to my grandma again, because when my mum and dad split up when I was young, my mum and dad were both working full time, so we literally, me and my brother spent our lives at my grandma's. She'd pick us up from school. We used to bond so much over black and white movies. Audrey Hepburn, Doris Day, Shirley Temple is literally, they're all my life. So her thing was she loved to spoil us. When we were with her on weekends at the school holidays, she'd take us into Stockport Town Centre and we'd go into Tammy Girl or any of those kind of things, and she'd buy me whatever I wanted. And we had the primary school talent show coming up.
Stop.
Bear in mind, I have no confidence, and I didn't then. And I just, when I was younger, I wanted to be a singer, and I was like, right, I'm going to enter the school talent show and I'm going to sing. She was like, right, we're going to take you out, we'll go to Tammy Girl, and I will get you an outfit. One of my favourite movies, even when I was at primary school, which is slightly worrying, was Coyote Ugly, and I just wanted to be a coyote.
Oh my god.
So we went into Tammy Girl. I know. And this is not really Coyote Ugly, but it kind of was, because the top was a corset. I was probably 7 or 8.
What the hell?
Or 9. And it was this black
Obsessed,
corset
though.
top, and I'm talking mini, pleated tartan mini
And your,
skirt.
and your grandmother bought
And my
you
grandma was like, slay! You can have this! This is
That
perfect
is so-
for the school talent show. And then boots, which my mum put fur over for me.
Wow.
And I went up
Like all the way down, or just like a cuff at
the
the top?
whole boot.
Obsessed.
Yeah. So then I'm doing the school talent show. Anastasia, Left Outside Alone. I'm about to sing Left Outside Alone, and I just started crying. And I was like, what a waste of an outfit.
Oh my
I
god.
didn't do it.
Stop. That's definitely... I kind of wish I'd burst into tears in my miniskirt outfit, because then it would have just like made I probably would have got higher grades.
Yeah, and actually just iconic to cry in a miniskirt and stripper boots.
And thigh-high boots.
Yeah.
So from then on, like whenever it was like own clothes day, I used to do a little bit more kind of like fun stuff. As I was buying a few more vintage pieces at this point, like I said, when I was about 16,
Yeah.
I'd wear a Gautier top, or I'd wear, something really fun and fab.
Yeah.
And even if it wasn't designer, it wasn't vintage luxury, it was just something a little bit more
Yeah.
towing the line and blurring the line of androgyny. That's kind of a word that's followed me for a long time.
Androgyny is one of my favourite concepts in the world.
It's followed
always
me
been a
for
thing
the
for me.
longest time. I love the concept.
I think it's much more widely used now as
it
well.
is.
Look
It
at the feminine male dressing
God.
that we see across the celebrity
Absolutely.
landscape now.
Fashion as a medium is always been androgynous at the top level in the
Yeah.
magazines on the runway.
Yeah.
It's just as
It's starting to trickle down.
That's how I kind of see fashion as it trickles down. It's always in celebrity, on film, TV, red carpet, runway, Met Gala. It's always been more androgynous. People have always experimented with gender. Like Dennis Rodman has always been, he was in drag in the 90s. Like, it's like we've always had these experimentations with gender and clothing, and we've always had this fluidity, but when it reaches the masses, it becomes a little bit more separative, because it's profitable to do that way.
One of my favourites right now, he was on the board for the Met Gala last year.
Coleman Domingo.
Coleman Domingo.
Coleman Domingo, he's in Wicked. He was the voice of the lion.
No!
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah.
Coleman Domingo is one of my favourite celebrities for the way he dresses. He just always, every Met Gala, I'm like...
Yeah, always been in pop culture or at the highest level of fashion, fluidity in terms of gender and archetypes, and breaking that down and commenting on that. Like we talk about, fashion's always been political. It's always been used as a tool to reflect society around us. And it's no longer an art form, and it trickles down to the utilitarian purpose of it for all of us. It does become a little bit more separative, because clothing becomes less of an art form and a tool of expression and more of a necessity for
Yeah.
people.
So, tell me about your work, because arguably you are working the dream job for most men and women in fashion or anything creative.
It's honestly such a privilege. I'm so beyond grateful. It's a dream come true.
Yeah.
I love fashion so much, and I love vintage fashion so much. It's amazing to be able to carry that interest over into what I'm doing. There's a lot of people that I work with also share that same passion for vintage and archive fashion. So it's having that knowledge and having that interest is amazing for the work that I do. It's so much fun to just be able to like put that love for fashion that I have, specifically for vintage fashion, but also for new season, and telling stories with clothing and kind of and utilize that in a work setting, but also in just like a creative way beyond just myself and my personal style.
This is a very big bag,
So this is Loewe Weekender bag.
which is stunning.
It's so stunning. I bought this a few years ago in Barcelona, actually, at a vintage store called Le Swing. It's very catacombs vibes,
Right.
literally in a stone archway.
Oh my god, I need to go.
It's so amazing. They have an amazing curation of stuff. I stumbled upon this, and at the time, I wasn't really doing the job that I'm doing now. I bought this literally just to be a weekender bag. But as I've been working, this has transitioned into my everyday kit bag. I take this everywhere with me. Not
So
only
it's
has
full
it,
of secrets.
it's full of secrets, it's full of tools, it's full of fashion tape and safety pins. This has seen me onto Eurostars with 4 massive suitcases.
Wow,
of
okay.
Samples and things. It's like Mary Poppins bag in here.
Love.
Such a fab bag. I love it. It feels so me again. Pieces from back then often were made with higher quality materials and with more care in mind. If you're looking for an entry into vintage, an accessory is a great first buy. Finding a bag is something that you can much more visually tell looking at product photos online whether it feels like you or not.
Yeah.
It can be a lot to commit to a piece of ready to wear or a garment
100%.
before you've seen it and tried it on in person, or you know what to look for. And so I would definitely recommend doing something more like an accessory, a bag, a shoe, even a belt, as something to kind of go as your stepping stone into vintage. Look at brands like Vintage Loewe, look at
Yes.
Vintage Balenciaga.
Yes.
Look at these brands that maybe weren't known for doing bags originally. Obviously, brands like Louis Vuitton were known for luggage and
Yeah, of
bags
course.
originally, but look at brands that kind of venture into that first, because it gives you a better sense of what their brand ethos and DNA is
It's a
in
really
the
good
clothing.
point.
When you see a Loewe bag, you know, okay, it's got this kind of contrast stitch, it's got a really interesting shape, it's dual purpose. So when you then look at Loewe clothing, everything has
It
an
makes
interesting
sense,
silhouette. It's
yeah.
got an interesting colour palette. Same with Cavalli. You see a Cavalli bag, it's going to have some form of fringe on it. So you know when you look at the pieces, they're going to have fringe
I
on
mean,
it.
even Loewe bags now are the most crazy
Oh, yeah,
designs.
They've got such interesting shapes, interesting silhouettes, but
Yeah.
they're very functional. As a stepping stone, it's great to get into bags because you can get a sense of a brand's DNA, their purpose and their ethos, and their image and idea of what they're like and whether you'd like them, whether they fit your personal style before you commit to something like ready to wear.
Yeah, that's a really good tip. One of the best tips I've heard, actually. And I suppose there's multiple things to this, because obviously you're doing what you love every day for a living, as you've just explained. Secondly, you're being able to see the world and being paid to see the world, which is amazing. But also, we all know how fun it is to style looks for yourself. You're able to branch out into areas that wouldn't necessarily work for you.
To be at this point now feels so insane.
Surreal.
It's so surreal. Every time I do something different or I hop on the Eurostar to Paris, it's always like a pinch me moment. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my god, this is so exciting. There isn't a minute that goes by when I'm doing those jobs that I'm like, oh my god, this is phenomenal.
It's not normal for a lot of people.
No, it's taken a minute to get here. I graduated like a year and a half ago. While I was at uni, I was assisting for some shows in Paris.
And how does this work? That was going to be my next question, is how do you get into this? Because there'll be a lot of people... It's hard work, right? It's hard
very
work to get there, and
difficult.
it's hard work when you're in it and to stay there. But how...
Getting that first heel in the door
Yeah.
is a little
Heel in
tricky,
the door.
you know? It's a little tricky. I was very lucky to go to fashion school. I went to London College of Fashion. So obviously the people that I met there were really instrumental in helping me kind of navigate towards this. I did a journalism degree, but my lecturers are still working in industry, so they had obviously loads of connections. I met a lot of connections through going to events and doing this, that and the other, and meeting PRs and doing all this, which just happened honestly by, there was this website that we had access to that showed calendars of events for things. And so you would just RSVP and just turn up and meet people. Obviously I work with Ben a lot to work together on those things, and to be part of that team is I don't take it for granted. It's hard to get into, and I'm so grateful for everybody that's given me that opportunity and that chance to keep working these jobs and doing these things and to keep making things happen.
Obviously, your talent speaks for itself as well, which is why you're here. Have you had any favourite work moments today, or have you got a fashion week that's your favourite or anything like that?
This past summer, I moved to Paris for the months of June and July.
Gorgeous.
I was there over Couture Week. We went to so many incredible parties. Demna's last show at Balenciaga,
wow,
the after party was phenomenal. I even got to go to a couple of couture shows. It's such a phenomenal experience, and that was amazing. The season before, the women's wear ready to wear season in March of this year, was also probably my favourite week, where I've managed to work and still get to party and do lots of things. Honestly, that's the way to do it. It's exhausting, but it's like, you've got to enjoy yourself.
You do, and also that's not every week either, is
no,
it? So you have
God,
to enjoy
like,
it.
You have to feed your battery
100%.
for as long as you can while it lasts.
Yeah, do it carefully, exactly.
This is probably one of my favourite summer staples.
It's very summery.
It's so summery and
gorgeous.
It's so gorgeous. And again, it's so me. I love it. It has so much character.
Character is the word. There's a lot going on, but in the most complimentary way.
Exactly. This is spring 2004, Roberto Cavalli. It has these incredible studded leather tassels that I'm obsessed with, as well as this really intricate gold glittered.
Yeah, it's not stitched.
It's not stitched. It's like a paint. This on is so flattering. It has the most incredible little, almost like peplum shape as it comes out at the bottom. It's divine. I stumbled upon this. I was on a family holiday in Geneva. Came across this store. I don't think it exists anymore, or if it does, they just do menswear. It was uptown, downtown, or downtown, uptown. One of the two. I went in and I came across this. Put it on, bought it, wore it the next day. Literally, like, it was so impulse. When you come across those pieces, even if you've not researched it, when you have a knowledge of what works for you, when you've done the work, when you've researched, when you've tried things on, when you know your body and you know what you like, I just fell in love with it immediately. Every time I go somewhere abroad, I have to pack it. Yeah. It's honestly stunning. It's probably one of my favourite pieces I own. Vintage Cavalli is probably one of the most trendiest vintage designers to get at the minute. And I think it raises an interesting conversation about vintage becoming trendy. Is interesting because it's not a trend.
And you shouldn't be buying vintage because it's cool to buy vintage. You should be buying vintage because
you like the piece.
And it's good quality.
Yeah, and also because you can see yourself wearing it for longer than a season.
Yeah.
So this top, I know I'm going to bring out every summer for the foreseeable, even if I've worn it a million times. PSA, wear your clothes.
Rewear.
Like, rewear
Lizzie
your
McGuire,
clothes.
you were an outfit repeater.
Honestly, like,
you should be.
You should be. And buying vintage is honestly a great impetus to do that because you know it's been worn before.
Yeah.
So you know it's been worn before, so it gives you more drive to wear it
100%.
multiple times yourself.
100%. So, if 14-year-old Sammy could absolutely not believe that he is here now, what would 56-year-old Sammy like to look back on? What's next for you?
I think if I was 60 years old looking back now, I'd want to just make sure that I am content and happy with not just what I'm doing in work, but how I'm living my life creatively and authentically, and still being true to who I am and not sacrificing anything. In terms of what I want to do with myself, I'd love to just keep doing what I'm doing. I'd love to grow. I'd love to expand. I'd love to keep going. I hope I'm lucky enough to keep going with what I'm doing and to carry on having these amazing experiences, and want to keep living in this different plane of reality where
As you should.
I just think it's fun. What is that thing somebody said? Don't love your job, job your love.
So, just to finish off, because I love that, I've got some quick fire questions.
Okay.
Fave cocktail or alcoholic beverage?
Aperol spritz.
Oh, girl!
No, Hugo spritz.
Fair. Favourite snack?
Oh, left field. Oh my god, I'm such a sucker for a Pringle.
Ski or sun?
I love skiing.
You can only wear one brand for the rest of your life.
Jean Paul Gaultier, easy hands.
Whoa! Did not
Don't
stutter.
have to think about it.
I feel like this is maybe a slightly loaded question when asked to you.
Okay.
But a celebrity style that you love?
You know what? It's always going to be anything that Laura H does.
Okay, Tate, yeah. Your fashion icon?
Oh my god, that's so hard. That's not lightning round. There's different people that depend on different things. I have artists that have inspired me as fashion icons, i.e. the way that they view the world has been how I viewed fashion, like Andy Warhol. In terms of fashion, I'm going to have to throw a left field here and say my grandma. Purely because of the reasons we've said, because I just think she was the reason that, even though I never met her, she's the reason that I understood that clothes hold stories and aren't just inanimate objects. Clothes don't have to just serve a purpose, they can tell a story.
100%.
So I think she's the reason that I even wanted to do anything in terms of fashion anyway.
Okay, last two, heels or flats?
Heels.
Obviously. Final quick fire question that we're going to end the whole interview on. What's your next biggest career goal for you personally?
Oh my god. I would love to dress somebody for the Met Gala.
Oh! And you absolutely shall go to the ball.
I would love to go to the ball with a lint roller in hand.
Yeah! We'll absolutely see you there. And thank you so much for letting me be the early part of that journey before you blow up and then I can't afford you.
No, thank you so much. Honestly, you have to come back for round 2 because there's a hell of a lot more in this wardrobe.
We will definitely be talking about it.
Like, there's a lot more. I'm so grateful that I was your first guest.
I'm
on
so
this
happy to.
incredible series. Such a fabulous idea.
I think you're a really good one for spearheading this, and I'm excited to see.
Oh no, it's such a
everybody
pleasure,
else.
and I think everything that you do is incredible.
Thank you.
And I think, honestly, when people get it, they get it,
Yeah.
you know? And I think you're somebody that really just gets it. You have such an incredible eye. What you're doing is fabulous.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh my god, it's
I
been
can't
such a
wait.
pleasure.